welcome to the Connector Show. I'm the Connector and I will be your host today. The topic of today's episode is how to stop the never-ending circle of conflict. There has been many wars between different nations in the past, and the question is, how many of those conflicts were truly stopped? And how many of them are actually in the state of so-called frozen conflict? When some country goes to war with another country, that is the bottom of relations between two countries and the most serious and dangerous situation that can possibly happen between two countries. The war eventually ends by signing the peace treaty. There are causes for every war. Whenever some country attacks another country, there are causes for the attack. The causes may not be rational or just, but they always exist. So, in order to permanently solve the conflict between two sides, the causes of the conflict must be removed. However, the question is, how many peace treaties truly solve the causes of the conflict, so two countries never restart the war because of some unresolved causes? This is the true question. Let's say that, in theory, right now, all countries could do whatever they wanted to do. I wonder, how many wars from the past, wars with unresolved causes of the conflict, would be restarted? Whenever we read about wars from the past, there is a big problem with historical records. The problem is that history is written by the winners. Translated, this means that history books about conflicts can be full of lies about real causes, which triggered the war between some two sides. This means that if we study history from history books, we can never be sure what is true or not, and that we cannot be sure where and when wars could restart again. This means that today's modern stable world can be imagined and seen totally differently. The world can be seen as a minefield. Wherever you go, you don't know where actually you're going. Do you go to a safe country, which doesn't have any unresolved causes for another war with somebody? Or do you go to a country in a state of frozen conflict, where another war is just around the corner? If you go to a frozen conflict country, in that country, war could restart anytime. So that would be the same like if you stepped on a mine in a minefield. You are walking, and you never know when you will step on a mine, and the old war will restart. Maybe what I've described does not appear like that, but in the heads of nations from unresolved conflicts, the reality is that there are still trenches on both sides with tanks and machine guns ready to start firing. It's just that the foreigners don't see that. They just see a beautiful country, nature, birds singing, and so on. I wish the local people would see the same, but unfortunately, they don't. In their heads, war didn't stop. It just took a break and it's about to restart. When? Nobody knows. Historically, waiting 50 years is just a break and the war is just around the corner. Example of two frozen conflict countries are North and South Korea. Korea was divided on North Korea and South Korea after the World War II in 1948. I think that a person does not have to be a genius to realize that Koreans were against that, but they were forced by world powers of that time, USA and Soviet Union. I'm raising the question, what nation would ever want to be artificially divided? No nation, of course. So, North Korea made a surprise attack and invaded South Korea in 1950. All they wanted was to remove the cause of the conflict, the division of the country on two parts. I'm sure that most of Koreans in South Korea wanted the same. However, world powers were against that and pushed North Korea back, so the Koreans did not unite back into one. So, listen to this. No peace treaty was ever signed. Again, no peace treaty was ever signed. So, officially, both Koreas are still in war or in a state of frozen conflict. Therefore, the cause for the conflict was not removed and still exists to this day. What does this mean? If the cause for past wars does not get removed and both sides stay in a state of frozen conflict, unfortunately, it's only a matter of time before the war will restart. So, the question is not whether is there going to be another war between North and South Korea. The question is when. However, there is a technological argument which could keep two countries in a state of frozen conflict for a long time, until technology finds the answer for neutralizing it. It's called nuclear weapons. North Korea is a nuclear power, while South Korea is backed by USA, which means that indirectly, South Korea is a nuclear power. The logic is very simple. If both sides have nuclear weapons, no side would ever restart the war because both sides would be mutually destroyed. North Korea and South Korea both have nuclear weapons, so from that point of view, war will not restart in future. If we follow this logic, it turns out that all frozen conflict countries should be armed with nuclear weapons in order to prevent further wars. It turns out that wars could be restarted only between non-nuclear countries or when at least one side is a non-nuclear country. However, it also turns out that this strategy could be applied to all the countries, not just the frozen conflict countries. If all the countries would be nuclear powers, would any country dare to attack any country? I don't think so. So, the best way to permanently stop wars between countries is to truly, not artificially, remove the causes of the conflict where both sides will fully agree and reach fair agreement acceptable to both sides. Second way is just to arm both sides with nuclear weapons, and that should prevent another war, at least until technology advances and one side finds the way to neutralize nuclear weapons and defend from them. This is an artificial way of stopping conflicts. Artificial solutions don't last, but it could work for some time, at least until technology finds the answer for defeating nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons solution could be applied to all countries, all 195 of them. That way, I'm sure the whole world would be quickly stabilized and transformed into a wars-free world, in which nobody would dare to attack nobody. Wonderful world, do you agree? However, it would not be a permanent solution because it is only a matter of time until technology finds the way to defeat or neutralize nuclear weapons. When that happens, the world will destabilize again and either go back to restarting old wars or go to the first and best solution, removing the causes of the conflict. Removing the causes is the first, best, but slowest solution. Nuclear weapons solution is the second, fastest, but artificial and not lasting solution. I think that it would be best to try the second solution and quickly stabilize the world and create wars-free world, since the humankind does not have much time and the world is very close to World War III. Then, humankind should start seriously and deeply working on removing the causes for past wars and slowly apply the first solution. I know that nuclear weapon solution would not last long, but it would at least prove to the humankind that wars-free world is possible and that when nuclear weapons get neutralized, humanity would realize that we could continue living in wars-free world. So, hopefully, the humanity would not go back and it would apply the first solution, removing the causes of the conflict across the world. If humanity manages to do that, then who needs nuclear weapons? I hope that you will find the Connect the Show valuable, recommend me to others, subscribe to my YouTube channel and become my patron. Help me build the show. Let's change the world together and let's connect.